What's up, guys? Welcome to SJU. It's Monday. Eric Goldman and I are here to talk about a very special episode of The Mandalorian. Not so special because it told you to say no to drugs or stay in school or anything like that, but because it was chock full of stuff. Crazy stuff happened. This is going to be a full-on spoiler episode. So if you haven't seen it yet, or if you saw it and you still don't want it spoiled, that didn't make any sense. But whatever, just watch this one later, you guys, because we're going to jump right in. We also want to know what you thought. What you thought about show? What do you think about the show? Drop in your comments, drop in your ponderings in the chat. I want to know what you guys have to say. But also, Eric Goldman, I want to know what you thought of this one, man. Just highs, lows, overalls. Let's jump into it.
My overalls is that I was my overalls. Is that it was my Oshkosh bagosh. But besides that, it was that I was very glad I stayed up till midnight because I don't do it every week for The Mandalorian as much as I love The Mandalorian. Some weeks I'm like, I'm tired, man. I'm going to sleep. I'll watch it in the morning. But because we had a pretty good idea what was going to probably happen in this episode, I was like, I think I got to stay up for this one. And I thought it was time well spent. I was wishing I wasn't watching it by myself. My wife was sleeping by that point, and I stopped myself from wooing too much. But yeah, I was very, very happy. It seemed like such a amazing thing to finally kind of come to fruition. I'm going to say her name, spoilers, but to see Ahsoka Tano in live action 12 years after her debut on the Clone Wars was pretty amazing.
I mean, she started very simply with her adventures with Stinky the Hutt.
Mm-hmm. Little snips.
Wild. So, of course, this one, 45 minutes long, where most of them have been around the half-hour mark, written and directed by Dave Filoni. I agree with you. I thought this one was great. I'll get into why in a moment. What if I didn't? What if I just ended the episode? We both thought it was great. Bye. And also, in regards to social media, I was on record as being very cranky throughout the day Friday. Like, no matter what words I feel like I mute, you keep just hearing about everything anyway. But my big fear going into this season was they were going to Iron Man 2 the hell out of The Mandalorian, just setting things up and prepping for this, and this spinoff's got to get a line, and those things have been built, but they've been handling it really, really well. You know, outside of maybe being like, oh, well, that was a very layered sentence, so that you know what to expect in the future. You know, last week or the week before, Bo-Katan saying, no matter what, I will rule Mandalore someday. Goodbye. You know, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. You know, but, you know, outside of some very heavy lines, this episode included, you know, at the end, and we'll get into it. They've done such a good job with the expanding and the world building. I would have never had a problem if The Mandalorian never touched the larger universe. I know a lot of fans have been like, filler, crap. When are you going to get to the fireworks factory? I didn't need the fireworks factory for this show, but now that we have started getting to the fireworks factory, they're handling it very well, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, no, same here. And it's interesting because sometimes I try to put myself into the shoes of someone who doesn't know all the extra stuff, right? Because I think a trap we sometimes get into is people who do know the extra stuff is thinking, oh, they won't be able to follow that. They must be so lost. But then I talk to my sister a lot. My sister loves Star Wars. My sister's 10 years older than me and helped get me into Star Wars when I was a little kid, but she doesn't watch the animated series and she doesn't read the books. Mm-hmm. She watches The Mandalorian. She loves it. When she saw the darksaber, she's like, what a cool, weird lightsaber. She wasn't going, what is that? I'm lost. Because I think she figured the show will tell her eventually what that is. Yeah. So I think they are doing that well. And I tweeted last week that I didn't say this in a disparaging way, but it's funny that almost every episode this season, except maybe the Frog Lady one, has felt like a backdoor pilot, but not in a bad way. In a like, oh, what cool character. I would love to see more of Timothy Oliphant, space sheriff, you know, not in a like, oh, they're Oh, I don't think we're going to get a series about Timothy Oliphant, Space Sheriff, by the way. I'm just saying, like, they could. And some things I think we will get as a spinoff, maybe this episode in particular. But I do think they're doing a good job of still making it all like a cool story. It's obviously a cool world they're building upon, but in a way that's intriguing for people that's not like, I'm lost, more than like, that's a cool new thing if it is brand new to you, you know,
yeah.
like this episode has.
You know, we were when we were watching it together. You know, my wife is aware that Ahsoka Tano was a character from the animated series, and that's kind of about it. But the episode was done so well that in that first moment, you're very invested in her, whether you know every nook and cranny of her lore and background, or if you're just seeing her for the first time. You went, "Oh, this is interesting." She her fighting style, the swords, the intensity, I thought was all done really, really well. But so big picture, let's shrink to a slightly smaller picture, the episode itself. Because even without the backdoor piloting of it all, I thought this was another really, really solid episode of the show. In addition, of course, to Rosario Dawson, who I thought was fantastic. Also, if I hadn't known it was Dawson, I would have looked it up. The makeup was just really, really well done.
He looked like Ahsoka Tano. I was very impressed by it. Yeah,
it was Ahsoka Tano after she's seen some stuff. You know, I thought it was really well done. The episode also featured on the villain side, Michael Biehn, of course, of John Connor fame and of The Rock fame. And my heart fame, one of my all-time favorite action guys, Navy SEALs. Let's just keep naming Michael Biehn things. Michael Biehn.
Although, since you said John Connor, I'm going to say he played Kyle Reese.
Oh, Joe. Kyle Reese. Oh, my God. I'm so sorry.
He was John Connor's buddy who went back in time to have sex with John's mom.
Yeah, God.
Like you do.
Hi, it's me, a fake nerd. Good Lord.
Fake fan.
This guy, jeez. So he was in there as Lang, who was a character that I really liked, and was again, we're talking spoilers. I was very disappointed when he died.
Me too.
I thought maybe he's not. I don't know. Maybe he'll wake up. I thought he was absolutely spectacular in this episode, and also the show is continuing. Its tradition of really like interesting and fun casting, you know, looking a little outside of the typical like actor pool you would expect them to pull from. Diana Lee Inosanto as Morgan Elsbeth. She is mostly known for her stunt work and her, you know, choreography and stuff in Hollywood. So it was very cool to see her acting chops. And as Adam Holbert says in chat, don't forget to mention that amazing final fight at the end of the episode. It was my favorite lightsaber fight ever. I loved it. To me, it harkened back to those original trilogy lightsaber fights, you know, which are my absolute favorite. You know, both of them were fighting for a reason, and there was emotion and intention, and yeah, I absolutely loved that.
It was so cool. Also, first of all, I don't know if we'd seen on-screen live-action confirmation that Beskar can hold up to a lightsaber. So that was pretty cool. And also, I did think about the fact that we still don't have like a ton of female villains in Star Wars live action. Mandalorian's given us a couple others, but this is the first time a female villain has been a part of a lightsaber fight, even though I know she wasn't holding a lightsaber. But it was still freaking cool as hell. Spear versus lightsabers. And yeah, she was a really cool presence. And I was sad that Michael Bihn's character died, but I'm glad she did not. And can certainly come back again.
Yeah.
I'm stealing this from Force Center, but I also believe it's the first lightsaber that we see like on non-movie. Like it's the first time we see like lightsaber combat live action in a non-movie, if that makes sense. But I guess it's a first for everything. But like we'd never seen lightsaber that wasn't in one of the 9 big movies or with the Rogue One and stuff.
Did Luke murder anyone in the holiday special? I can't remember.
He did not. He
so that orange. That Trump.
I haven't watched the new Lego one, so who knows?
But continue with these bad guys, because the fun like character of the week bad guys in Mandalorian have been one of my favorite things. Sort of continuing the Yojimbo influence, especially in this episode, was major. That standoff at the end was so good. The lowering I absolutely loved the weird balance of fun and quirk, but also tension and danger with lore. Like it's such a solid mix, because sometimes you get a lot of one or a lot of the other, and this was such a solid mix of all of them. Swirls of Blue 1 in chat says, I liked the ep, but the has to go on a mission in exchange for help thing is getting repetitive. I can see that, but also, this is a kung fu series. And that's the genre. So I think if you're on board for what the genre of the show is, you sort of take the bill of goods, the bill of sale, I guess.
Yeah, I get making jokes about it because it's fun to make jokes about it, but it doesn't actually bother me because, especially as someone who grew up on like a lot of like 80s episodic TV as a kid and was used to like, what's the A-Team's mission this week? Right. It's very old school in that regard, but it's not only doing that. Obviously, there is an ongoing story, but I think that is the spine of the show. Is he travels somewhere, he takes a mission to get something. I mean, we could joke about the fact that he's kind of seemed to put his whole like bounty hunting career on the side, yes. But he's still using it in service of these little side quest missions to get more information.
It's tough to be a single dad in Star Wars. It's tough to be a good single dad in Star Wars. It's easy to be a single dad in Star Wars. We've had a lot of them. They're all monsters. It's tough to be a good single dad in Star Wars. The guy, this guy's working hard, and we should appreciate him. Big stuff, obviously in this episode, aside from Ahsoka Tano. We get confirmation that if they ever make a Spaceballs 2, Mel Brooks will name a Baby Yogurt Go-Gurt, because we got Baby Yoda's name, Grogu, which, it now exists. I don't know if I have an opinion on it, because I don't know if there is a Yoda-sounding name that I would have been like, sick,
Right. Yeah, I think it's a little over argued, only because it's something that people have built up for a year but doesn't need to be any. Like, first of all, the only time we met another creature in this race, and I will have more to say about this, is Yaddle, which is just a funny, silly thing. Like, we knew Yoda, here's another one, she's named Yaddle. So I'm glad they didn't continue the like has to start with a Y thing.
Yodel.
Yodel. But I just think it's like, it's one of those things where they could have just introduced him with this name a year ago and it would have been fine. Now we've kind of worked it up a little too much. I also was thinking, by the way, they were filming season 2 when season 1 started airing already.
True.
So for them, they already knew the name of the character, but meanwhile, this whole Baby Yoda thing took off. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I think Baby Yoda is great. It's an organic thing that the fandom like did themselves, and I love that. But at the end of the day, it's like, his name's Grogu. You can still call him Baby Yoda. That's fine too. I do not love or hate Grogu, but I also think if we met him a year ago and went, oh, he's so cute, and they said his name's Grogu, we would have said, okay. It's just only because of a year of buildup that it has to have like sort of significance,
Something interesting I was thinking about as we got some background on him was during season 1, everyone was pointing at the fact that they were roughly close in age, the two of them. Yeah. So people were kind of trying to timeline and, line them up through the Clone Wars and what have you. And that paid off in a way. We got some background on him. He was at the Jedi Temple during Order 66, which I thought was interesting. I really assumed that they would just be like, he's completely removed from all of it. Right. So I was really interested in the fact that he was, at the temple. I thought that was sort of fascinating. And someone got him the hell out of Dodge. Maybe it was Yaddle.
Yep.
But yeah, so I was surprised that they connected him that closely to the canon of like what actually happened on Coruscant during the Clone Wars and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that is ripe for stories to be told, comic books and whatnot that can now tell young Baby Yoda being trained prior to the events. That also is funny because this episode had these like sort of major references to Anakin, which means Darth Vader, without saying his name. Now, clearly, that is who Ahsoka is referring to, about having seen someone kind of go down the dark path.
Yeah,
but then it's like, Grogu, Baby Yoda, someone got him out of there when the massacre happened in Order 66. The massacre that was Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker would have killed Baby Yoda. He would have killed our favorite little Grogu if not for this mysterious someone. So that was interesting to kind of tie it all together, but without saying it out loud, so that Anakin's name wasn't directly evoked.
Yeah, and then also proving the most important rule of Star Wars, that if someone says Yoda's name, you have to hear the refrain of his theme.
You do, and I loved it only because I love the score on Mandalorian, and I still see some people, I think most people love it, but once in a while people go, oh, the music's so different, and I'm like, no, that's great. It should be different. But this was the first episode where they played music from the movies, and I thought that, and they also played Ahsoka's theme from the animated series, which was great. Yeah. But then to hear Yoda's theme come in there, and I was like, yeah, this is great, because they're not playing the Star Wars theme every week. But here it's like they earned it, I felt, to play it. But you are right. It's people so
much more effective. I think you're absolutely right, because they held back.
Can I ask a question, actually?
Yes, you can, Ryan.
We know that there's a history of George Lucas of editing past movies with new details once they come out in the lore. Will we see any baby Grogus inserted in the temple during the prequels, like that scene where they're all trading with Yoda and they got like the little trade? Like, are we going to go on Disney Plus one day and we're going to see just like a digitally inserted little baby Yoda?
And he's just going to be stealing somebody's snacks.
He's got like he's messing with the librarian's Jocasta News cookies the whole time.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because that'd be really funny. They now that Disney's in charge, they haven't done any special edition stuff themselves. Again, McClunky and all those things were done by Lucas. We only just saw them last year.
Right.
But they were
on his way out, right?
On his way out.
He's
so weird.
He McClunkied. So I have a feeling Disney's probably not thinking about special editioning extra, but it'd be funny if they did, right?
Can you imagine how angry fans are already unhappy with Disney Star Wars for so many reasons? Can you imagine if Disney did their own special editions?
I know.
Hey, oh my God. Yeah, I don't think he'll be inserted, but I do think we'll get like a cute animated Muppet Babies-esque Grogu cartoon, even if it's just a Pixar short.
And you'll get like a Mace Windu grumpy with Baby Yoda story,
Yes,
like something like that will happen.
I'm sure we'll get something animated like that, so that Sam Jackson can actually do the voice.
Right.
I think, you know what? I think if this had timed out that this new holiday special had come out after, you definitely would have gotten something like that.
Yeah.
Some additional like fun supplemental. And here come the mowers.
It sounds more like there's some street racing going on. So.
These mowers live their life a quarter mile at a time. We're both right.
Should we discuss the yaddle of it all as we're talking about the Jedi Temple?
Well, right after I do these call outs, Eric. What a lovely way to break this up. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit bells, hit whatever new things YouTube has dropped in lately to make sure you see our stuff. We also, over Thanksgiving break, dropped some cool new videos. Our dear old friend Sasha Poor Raver put out 3 pieces on how Marvel makes their movies. It's a real deep dive into the movie making process in general, and really highlights some unsung heroes in that process. They're really, really cool. If you just really want to get into the nuts and bolts of like how you make a blockbuster movie, they're really great. I really suggest you go watch them. They're super informative, and they're super fun. Other bit of news. Sorry, I got to ramble for a minute, and then we'll get into Yaddle. I apologize, Eric. Other bit of news. I'm really excited about this. This Thursday, we're launching, Fandom is launching a new tabletop RPG show called Roll and Keep. I'm super excited about this. Fandom Tabletop, our tabletop division, we're part of a company that has different divisions. That's how big we are. Tabletop just launched our book Cortex Prime, and this is going to be the show that supports it. It includes your SJU friend Vanessa Gritton, Eliza Pearl, who is a fantastic performer, Melly, Cam, Adam, all really great people, sort of from the world of RPGs the way this show's going to work is the thing about Cortex is that it's more of a system where you can customize and create your own worlds, your own settings, and stuff like that. So this will almost be like a repertory theater thing. We have this one cast, and we'll spend about a month in different kinds of settings and different kinds of stories. And if you're new to this kind of genre and you're like, what are you guys doing? Think of it as like an improvised audio drama is how I like to look at them. It's one of my favorite things to do. We're going to launch with a setting called Hammerheads, which is about in the not too distant future, like climate control is out of control. And there's these groups of emergency response teams called Hammerheads. So think San Andreas, Armageddon, 2012. I'm super excited to play in a world like that. We've got a link in the description, so check that out. It launches this Thursday. It's going to be super, super fun. This is also the last day of November, so we wanted to give one big, very special call out to our friends over at Stack Up. Stack Up brings veterans and civilians together through a shared love of gaming and fandom. They serve U.S. and allied service members, veterans, and civilians to assist in crisis intervention, suicide prevention, and issues concerning mental health through gaming and community. November has been their call to arms, which is their biggest fundraising push of the year. We have links in the description. Please visit there, especially with everything that's going on with COVID and the stay-at-homes and things like that. Programs like this are just more important than ever. So thank you guys so much for supporting, even if you can't support monetarily. Share on your social media, share on your Facebook, share on your Twitter to let people know about them. Hey, that said, hey, you want to talk about Yaddle?
I do. Although I also want to mention I've seen those 3 Avengers videos, the sort of MCU making of, and they're great, and everyone should check them out.
They're super good.
Yeah, the Yaddle question. What about Yaddle? I mean,
we're adult men.
Again, this is one of those things where I think people can have fun with, and I saw some great memes about Yaddle disrespect. I'm not really sweating it, even though I think at some point she should come out, only because the reason it is interesting is because it seems like no one knows what species Yoda is. So timeline-wise, people have kind of figured out Ahsoka might not have ever met Yaddle, that she was out of the council by the time Ahsoka would have been kind of traipsing about, and it's totally realistic that they never met. Mm-hmm. I will say, I guess you could say she could have said, I knew a creature like him, Yoda, and I heard about one other, but that seems like a little bit extraneous, you know? And maybe she never even asked. Maybe she never said, what the hell is Yoda? Because she just wasn't the person who cared about that. Yeah. So
here's my solve, Eric Goldman.
Yeah.
And maybe people like it. Maybe people are shut your mouth. But, so you have the planet Mon Cala. And on Mon Cala, you have the Mon Calamari, and you have the Quarren, 2 different nautical races. Now, aesthetically, they look very different. But what's to say that there aren't 2 fairly similar species? And Yaddle is from a similar but just different species than Yoda. Maybe they're from the same planet. Maybe they're from the same system. But they're different. That's where I'm at.
Well, but then that raises the question, Joe. I'm going to forget this character's name, but there's another Jedi Council member who is Yoda-ish, little taller, eye patch, one eye.
Oh, yeah.
With his, and he is a different species. So then
Yaddle's a him. Yaddle's a whatever he is. That's what I'm doing.
All right.
That's how I fixed it. Because otherwise, if I don't have this right in my head, I can't love Star Wars.
Sadly, there are people, I believe, who feel that way. So
that's my fix. Yaddle is an eye patch guy.
Okay.
Take it or leave it, folks.
Actually, I think he doesn't have an eye patch. I think he just has a missing eye. But yeah, one eye guy.
Oh, right. Yeah. One eye guy. So, of course, then we have the big piece of backdoor pilot setup we had was Where's Your Master, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Mm-hmm. At the end, which means we're going to get live action Thrawn, which is dope. Which means, I suppose, we're going to pick up on the Ezra Bridger stuff that Rebels left with. So maybe whether she's still in the midst of that or this is after it, the aftermath of that quest. We'll see. But I'm so excited for Dave Filoni to be able to pick that up in live action.
Yeah, now, first of all, again, you have to think back on Thrawn, who was a character introduced in 1995 in the expanded universe, and
Yeah.
and those books mean a lot to people too. They, as people talk about, that was kind of the only new Star Wars there was for quite a while. And even though they're not canon anymore, Thrawn did come into canon with Rebels. So this also feels like a big, oh wow, we're going to get a live action Thrawn finally. And then the when is this happening did throw me a little bit. And at first I thought it must be before. And again, spoilers for the end of Rebels, but I felt like it had to be before the end of Rebels. But then I thought, oh no, I guess it doesn't have to, because they could have gone on their mission and hopefully found Ezra, but Thrawn could have done something, and now she's just still looking for Thrawn. And it is interesting this is where you do raise the question of like, wow, will people watching this show feel like this is a question this show needs to answer? Because this definitely felt like backdoor pilot. This felt like Ahsoka. Maybe you bring Sabine in, maybe you don't, but you probably do. Hunting for Thrawn, and you have Rosario Dawson playing her. That feels ripe for a series or mini series or movie or however you want to tackle it.
Oh, it happened. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Something's gonna happen.
The reason that I was like, oh, this is Ahsoka Tano who's seen some stuff is why I think that this takes place after whatever that was.
Yeah.
If you want to lean into that, the idea of that world weariness of Luke that we see in the sequel trilogy. I think the interesting thing about Ahsoka Tano being the Jedi that we've really spent the most time with, story-wise. Like, we've gotten more of Ahsoka Tano's story, I think, on screen than we certainly have Luke. I think, is that fair?
She is the Coulson of Star Wars at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, to me, there's something really interesting where... because we didn't get to see what got Luke to where he is for, this world weary hermit who's like, I'm out, man. We have gotten to see this progression with Ahsoka Tano, because she was definitely a different person, than we saw even in Rebels and even in that final season of Clone Wars. Just the mood, the tone, I thought was really interesting. So actually being able to see a fully realized complete arc for a Jedi instead of just being like, well, I was a general in the Clone Wars. Then we skip a bunch of years. I'm an old man on Tatooine and I'm dead.
Right.
And stuff like that. Actually being able to see her progression, I think, will be really, really cool.
Yeah, and I thought that's where I thought Rosario Dawson did a very good job, because of course, look, she sounds so different from Ashley Eckstein. And by the way, all the respect in the world to Ashley Eckstein, who's so great as Ahsoka for so many years. She didn't try to sound like her, which I think is a wise move. It'd be strange if she was trying to do an impression of her. But I did think she evoked her. But yes, she's an older character, literally, but also has gone through more. It's worth noting that we still don't really know what Ahsoka was up to during the brunt of the original trilogy. Yes, Rebels told us what she was doing in the build-up to that trilogy, but then what was she doing in between, in those 4 years between A New Hope and Jedi?
That's why I'm assuming this takes place after, because I'm assuming during that time she's looking for Ezra.
Well, they show at the end of Rebels that it's after the war that she and Sabine meet up.
You're right. Yeah, it is.
But I still think this happens after that, even, but yeah, she's gone through a lot, and you can see that. And I think it's a cool sort of, way to approach the character. Because like you said, she is interesting in that we have seen so much of her life, but at very different periods. We met her, she's supposed to be 14. And she goes through so much in Clone Wars, and it's really a testament to the power of that character and what Dave Filoni did with her, that people really were annoyed by her when she was introduced, because she was the bratty teen sidekick. But then she became it was about developing that character and having her more dimensionalized and having her go through a lot, to the fact that I think she became a lot of people's favorite character. Yeah. It's very cool to see that, and pretty rare in Star Wars to track it to this extent.
Yeah. If I had to be nitpicky about something in the episode, I thought the line, "Where is your master, Grand Admiral Thrawn?" was very here we go. But not even just from here's the Thor in the hot tub moment, but also, where's your master? could have inspired a year's worth of YouTube videos. And I think sometimes it's good to throw out the crumb, and then sometimes I think it's good to withhold. And I think it would have been fun for Disney to withhold.
I guess I didn't mind them saying the name, and sometimes I like that. Even in the episode, when Bo-Katan said, to go look for Ahsoka Tano, when I didn't think they were going to say her name yet, I thought they were going to be all mysterious about it. I like that. Sometimes maybe they could have been a little more naturalistic, even if she even just said, "Where's Thrawn?" because it was so like pointedly like Grand Admiral Thrawn. If people, the more like the mid-level, the people who might remember those old books but haven't watched Rebels, maybe they'll
Grand Admiral Thrawn of Legends fame.
right. Who was EU but now canon? Where is he? So it could have been maybe toned down a little bit, but it didn't bother me too much.
But man, that's me being so nitpicky. I was very impressed at how everything built in this episode. I absolutely was.
What's interesting? One thing I did want to mention was it was interesting that she had this. I guess I shouldn't call it fear because she shouldn't feel fear, but she had a concern about the fear that Grogu had because of where fear leads, and we all know where fear leads, and the dark side thing. Only because the entire prequel trilogy, and even things I think Lucas has said support this, there seemed to be the idea, and I this was something I wish the sequel trilogy had dealt with, but it's like the idea that the Jedi, kind of created their own demise in a lot of ways, and that their rules about attachments were probably wrong and hurt them and kind of set Anakin on his path by being so limiting, and saying it's such a strange thing, say you shouldn't have any attachments. And I do think going forward, that would be a great thing to sort of explore is like the next generation of Jedi. Do they give that up, and are they allowed to have husbands and wives? Yeah. It was interesting to see that Ahsoka still believes in that old way, but I don't think that's like a knock. Like I think that's fine for her to believe that. But it was interesting.
Wonder what happened with Ezra Bridger,
right?
He was family to her, so that's
So that was interesting because she's obviously had all this time to absorb knowing that Anakin became Vader, and how much that sort of rocked her world. I was intrigued to see her still kind of following the old Jedi ways as far as the attachment concern.
Yeah, especially for someone who has very loudly proclaimed that they are not a Jedi.
Right. By the way, did you see the interview in Vanity Fair that Filoni and Rosario Dawson did about this today? The kind of post. Only because it was really cool, because Filoni, he brought up the fact that, Ahsoka had proclaimed, "I'm not a Jedi" in Rebels, but then this episode's called The Jedi. And he basically said the thesis of Riley's video.
Riley's vindicated.
Yeah, he basically is like, I know she says I'm not a Jedi, but I would argue that in a lot of ways she's more Jedi than Jedis that we've seen. So
which is a great moment to tell you guys to go watch Riley Silverman's video essay that she did in 8 years ago when lockdown started.
Right.
That in May
it was the Roaring 20s. I don't know.
I think it was April.
I think cool. It's an amazing video. She did a great job. She's one of the biggest Ahsoka Tano fans I know, and I think her analysis about the character is super spot on. So make sure you go back, check out that essay, and Ryan, we should tell our social media team to tweet out that essay because. Also wanted to mention that David Prowse passed away. Of course, played Darth Vader in the first Star Wars trilogy. Very sadly died of complications from COVID-19 at the age of 85. And obviously James Earl Jones was the voice, but the 9'4" hulking menace was Prowse.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people mention, first of all, it's interesting because he had a very contemptuous relationship, often with Lucasfilm, it seemed. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you go back to it, and he was such a great presence. And I saw people note, Darth Vader has one of the most famous debuts in cinema history, which is walking into that hallway after the stormtroopers have killed all the rebels. He doesn't say anything, and it's just this amazing presence. Now, of course, that costume's incredible, but they needed someone to wear that costume and have a hell of a lot of presence, and he was exactly the guy for it.
Somebody needed to fling those people around, and he did it well. He did it really, really, very well. It's still a very, for as often as Star Wars can be like pod racing and Grogu and stuff like that, the opening of A New Hope is him just choking a dude and lifting a dude, and yeah, he's a scary guy. He is the Undertaker of the Star Wars.
Yes, I love it.
So definitely wanted to mention that Mark Hamill, a lot of people in the Star Wars family eulogized him very, very well. I thought. Also need to end the show on some sad news, and I feel like I've been stalling because I don't want to talk about it. Over Thanksgiving break, we talked about it a little bit on social media, but if you're not on social media, I'm very sad to share the news that a member of the Screen Junkies family, Dizzle, aka Donald Ray Davis Jr., took his own life at the end of October. And it's really hard to talk about. I'm sorry. He was such a sweet, sweet guy, and he was at every convention. And sorry, he was at every convention. He was so positive. And everyone who's been talking about it and tweeting about it says the same thing. If they had a creative endeavor, he wanted to know about it and he wanted to support it. And, we weren't close as brothers or anything like that. He was a fan of Screen Junkies, and he was a fan of mine. And we talked pretty regularly. He had started doing stand up, and I was so excited for him. I wish every comic, I wish every creative and every performer had someone like him in their in the front row, because every Screen Junkies Central we did, every San Diego Comic-Con panel, he was right there, and he was always dressed as Tyrone Biggums. That was his big cosplay, was the Chappelle character Tyrone Biggums, and that was the first way I met him, was this like super supportive dude dressed as the "You Got Any Crack" guy from the Chappelle show. And I was just like, who's this dude? That he was so kind, and then he would evolve that costume every year. I think the last time we saw him at Comic-Con, it was like a Deadpool take on it, which was amazing. But he was so sweet and wonderful. And I miss sort of those old days of when SJU launched and Screen Junkies Plus, and that tight community of fans. I think he was definitely an anchor and a glue for that community, and he will be missed greatly. We're going to try to figure out some kind of Zoom memorial or something to do for him. I've talked to his mom a little bit. And sort of once we get our heads wrapped around everything and how to do it, we'll let everybody know what that looks like. But love to his mother and to his brother and to everyone that he touched in the Screen Junkies family. We absolutely won't forget him. This quarantine's been so hard. You can't overstate how hard this has been. I'm so fortunate to have my best friend and wife here trapped in these four walls with me. And it's still tough, and so I can't imagine, being feeling like you're solo or just feeling like everything's so overwhelming. And it's so hard to say, hey, reach out, because one of the hard things about suicide, and Sasha Pearl Raver, again, who we talked about a little earlier, was texting with me, because I was doing that immediate, did I do enough? Could I have done more? I knew he was having a hard time, and we were talking a little bit about it. But, she said, you didn't know, and moreover, neither did he. So, yes, reach out if you need to, but knowing how impossible that is, reach out to your friends and just tell them you love them. And sorry, I've rambled about this for a good little bit now. That's our show today. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I miss intensely two things. The interaction of being in the studio with you, Eric, and with Roth and with Spencer, all of that. I miss that so much. And Two, I miss so much being able to see everyone who watches the show. We do the stupidest thing, and I don't know why you guys like it. But it matters, and it means something, and those interactions after at a con, they matter to us as much as I hope they do to you, and we'll get there again soon. And Christ, man, hang in there until we do. Please, 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 please. So reach out to your friends. Love you guys so much. Eric, thanks so much for doing this dumb thing with me today and talking Star Wars. You're a hell of a fun dude to do it with, honestly.
Thank you, man. Always a pleasure.
I'm going to go cry some more, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for Honest Trailer Commentaries. Bye, guys.